Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
This is the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston with DefeatYourCravings.com. I'm here with a kind-hearted woman named Megan, who's agreed to share her experience so that you can benefit from her strength and wisdom and hope and enthusiasm, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Megan?
Yep, I'm here for you.
Hey, I'm here for you too. Did you hear that, guys? We're here for you. Tell me a little bit about your backstory before you came to us and then what happened.
I really only started having a weight problem after I gave birth to my son about 25 years ago. Before that, I would say that I didn't really have much of a problem at all. I didn't really think about food very often. I wasn't overweight. If I became overweight, I just sort of ate less and dropped the weight. But then when my son was born, something happened, I guess, to my metabolism, and it just didn't work anymore. It made me really sort of compulsive about food. Because I couldn't control it, I couldn't control my weight. I had no control over whether or not I gained or lost weight. I sort of started controlling everything about the food intake that I had. And it wasn't very healthy emotionally, or mostly emotionally. And I gained a whole bunch of weight. So at my heaviest, do we talk numbers?
Sure.
My heaviest, I was about 225. I'm 5'2", so that's a lot. And I had always been around 110 or 120 tops before my son was born. So it was really a big deal. I did a lot of different things. Right before this, I was doing fasting, which I liked a lot. It didn't really make me lose a lot of weight, but I liked that every other day I didn't have to think about food at all. But it also made it so that I couldn't sleep. Like I would get really hyper on fasting days, and I just didn't sleep every other day as well. And so I sort of figured that I needed to get back to what I really wanted and am achieving right now, is not thinking about food. And what I wanted to do was set up systems that would allow me to not think about food all the time. I had hired somebody about 10 years ago to help me lose weight, and I lost it, but it was like a lot of thinking about food. Like he was having me eat literally 6 times a day, specific amounts of proteins and carbs at every meal. Like I had to think about food constantly to be able to like meet this guy's recommendations. And then when I just started eating normally again, I just gained it all back. So I made a rule with myself that if I had to do something crazy to lose weight, then I just wasn't going to lose weight. If it took me doing something totally unusual to meet my goal, then my goal wasn't going to work.
It sounds like then you've adapted our system to be a very sane and regular part of your life. How did you create systems using Defeat Your Cravings?
Well, I also wanted to say, because I think Yvonne probably mentioned this to you. Yvonne was my coach. So I started 2 things at the same time. I started doing semiglutide, sort of microdosing it, and Defeat Your Cravings at the same time. And I was a little bit afraid that one of them was going to be not useful, but it turns out that they were both useful at the same time. I was afraid when I started that the fact that semaglutide just makes you not care about food would mean that I was wasting my money on the program because I wasn't going to care about food. But that actually didn't happen. I don't not care about food. I care about food. I still think about food. I still crave food, but it's less noisy than it had been. Those 2 things together really helped at the same time.
I have clients on semaglutide who tell me that they want less food, they want it less frequently, but they still have cravings to just have a meal full of junk food instead of nutritious food.
Oh, no, I don't do that. but I still have cravings. And so the Defeat Your Cravings program helps me think about my cravings and refute the pig and just get back to my rules and make new rules that seem to be helpful versus limiting for me.
What were the kinds of rules that you needed if your volume cravings and frequency cravings were not as strong?
So, some of the new rules that I have from this 90-day program was I will never eat fewer than 2 meals a day. So, I have to eat 2 meals every day. I will never eat less or fewer than 1,300 calories a day. And that was a new one because I realized pretty late in the program that if I ate less than 1,400 calories, I couldn't sleep. And not because I was hungry or anything, but because I would get hyper at night. Like I just was really full of energy. I don't know what the mechanism is, but if I eat around 1,400 calories, I can sleep very well. Less than about 1,300 calories, I really am unhappy. And then I must have one sweet treat per day. Those are my three new rules that I started. And the reason I must have a sweet treat is because I'm afraid that if I make it optional, I will be virtuous or something and not have it and then resent the fact that I didn't have it and then be resentful. Really, my main goal with the whole thing is to just not be resentful about any decision that I make ever. I don't want to go around being in a bad mood about some kind of food decision that I made.
Yeah, these are what we would call anti-restrictive rules because people get on the binge restrict cycle. They get too restrictive, they get resentful, and they go the other way. And so, what impact has it had?
Like I said, the semaglutide doesn't get rid of the cravings, but it makes the cravings a lot less compulsive. And the rules and the refutations and the program that you have set up like allow me to like have a process in place whereby I just recognize that I want something and then figure out like how that's not going to work for me. But it's not a conversation about like, oh well, I've already had 1,400. It's more of this thing that you want is not going to solve the problem that you are using it for. You know that you've eaten enough calories, you know that you've eaten healthfully, you know that you've done everything that you're supposed to do, your system is good. So the fact that you want this, it's not real, it's the pig talking.
I see. And so, are you achieving not thinking about food all the time?
Yes, definitely.
What has that made room for in your life?
It allows me to really be who I want to be. So one of the things that you have us do, I don't know, week 8, I'm not really sure, is figure out your why. No, it's week 10 and it's the optional things where you're trying to figure out like who you are and how these rules help you realize who you are. At least that's the way I was thinking about.
Yeah, the identity work. Yeah.
And I realized that not necessarily the being overweight piece is not me, although I don't think it's me. The being compulsive about food and thinking about food all the time and always worrying about food, food, food is taking all of my energy from focusing on things that I actually do care about, like my art that I make and, the classes that I teach and my son and working on things and working in the art, whatever it is I want to do. If I'm constantly like thinking about food, I can't focus on those things. I can't be the person that I am. And that's the strongest argument for really trying to quiet this part of my brain down is that I just can't be who I want to be if I'm constantly thinking about something that I really would prefer to not care anything about. I don't even want a good relationship with food.
That is such a great way to say it. There's so many other things in life besides food.
Yeah, there really are.
Yeah, and in some ways, this whole obsession about find a peaceful relationship with food, maybe that's the wrong paradigm. Maybe the paradigm is how do you have no relationship with food?
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like that. I haven't heard people say that before. How is your art and your son and your classes going?
Really good. I teach at a university and I'm a teaching professor, so I don't do work in the summer. I just have been doing art nonstop and it's been really great. And just working in the yard, like it's all really good. I'm happy. I had this thought, it was before I started either of the semaglutide or Defeat Your Cravings. I was thinking like, I hope I'm not on my deathbed and like regretting some food that I had the night before. I hope my last thought isn't, man, I wish I hadn't had that cookie. I don't think my last thought is going to be that.
What's your last thought going to be?
I don't know. I love you, I guess probably will be, hopefully will be my,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
And I also wanted to say one other thing that I did that I didn't even talk to Yvonne about because I didn't realize it. So one of the things that has always been a problem in my past experiences with dieting and weight loss was that I have a really ambivalent relationship to being attractive, which I know is strange, but it's always been there. Like my therapist and I would joke about it when like men started paying attention to me again. Like she'd be like, "Uh-oh," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I know." Like I had a cheesecake after that happened.
It's a lot more common than you think.
And I did something that wasn't related to this, but I went and I did EMDR therapy. And it's for trauma. And I don't really have any trauma around this, like, big T trauma. I obviously have a problem. But when I was doing that, I wasn't working on this particular issue. I was working on something completely different. A few days ago, I was out at the garden center and some man, he said, "Hey, lady."
Yeah.
And it was gross. And I was like, oh, that's him. It has to be from the EMDR. I was able to be like, oh, that's his really creepy behavior. That doesn't have anything to do with me. And I didn't go backwards. I didn't go out and have a Snickers bar.
How wonderful.
Yeah. So if anybody is open for that kind of thing, like going to EMDR specifically, I think really helped me.
Aren't men classy?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby, backseat of my car Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's the testosterone. That's what it is. No, but that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? Anything else that you wanted to be sure to share with the audience for anybody who's reluctant or frightened or scared about the money or scared about the time, or is there anything that you would tell them?
I would say that the program is really useful, even if you're not doing semaglutide, but even if you are as well. Like I really didn't know if it was going to be worthwhile on the semaglutide, and it really was worth the money and the time and the energy of doing it because it does help you think through instead of just like some chemical in your brain doing something. You are actually like working through the issues. Well, not really even the issues. Well, you are because you're making refutations. You are doing the work to get past the stumbling blocks that you have. So it is worth the money and the time.
Well, thank you very much. This was really interesting.
Thanks. It's been a really good experience.
Okay. Thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.